Hello,
Hi, can I speak to Damien?
this is Damien.
Damien, this is Laura. I'm from the Crisis Center out of
Okay.
Concord.
Okay, I'm, by the way, recording this. I'm in Meredith, New Hampshire. I was a victim of rape, but it was connected to, like, the perpetrators were close to the people in the Gates Foundation who gives money to rape crisis centers. So I've had rape crisis counselors behave in ways that were, like, extremely sadistic. So I feel like I can't trust. I know that you're not going to abuse me over the phone in the way, like, if you know it's going to be recorded, you're not going to abuse me the way you might if you think that I'm not recording it. So is that okay with you?
I guess.
Well, yeah. 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 I was a victim of, like, multiple rapes, and all sorts of, like, sexual harassment and cover-ups. And I mean, it was like
When,
started when I was at
when did
Harvard.
it, when did that happen, Damien?
Um, I've been dealing with pretty steady abuse for like 20 years. It started when I was at Harvard, and I mean, you know what happens in Harvard when they try to, like at places like Harvard, when they try to cover up rape or sexual harassment or wrongdoing by administrators or, powerful people. What they do to victims can be out of this world horrendous, and that's what they did to me. So I end up, my parents go and were like, Harvard's powerful, so um, my parents were not in a position to help. They did things that caused me to get learned helplessness, and I get pushed into working for a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway where I get stalked. Pretty much I get, like, sex trafficked in a way. I mean, I was, like, coerced or pressured into doing just enough prostitution so that, I mean, it was white collar crime where I was victimized, and then the crimes were covered up, and people who had stalked me, like Catholic priests who had stalked me, could be blackmailed, and, like, money got it, like it resulted in, people in Wall Street making money off of blackmail. If you understand how the company I worked for operates, you know that if they can blackmail institutions like Harvard or the Catholic Church, they can make a lot of money off of having regulators look the other way with regard to bills they don't pay, or they pay late, or, favor them in arbitration proceedings and stuff. So, but anyway, one of the big problems is I'm like the amount of extremely cruel abuse I continue to have to put up with because I am I have no choice but to come forward and, like, publicly expose what has been done to me and try to, force things to go in a more positive direction just because I mean, it's a crime. I mean, it's a horrible crime, and I mean, it's something I went to a lawyer. I should have been able to get police to do something, and I didn't. I had some like the Rape Crisis Center in Boston and the other agencies associated with them were perpetrators. Bad enough, almost like bad enough so if I go to the police now, I would name them as, like, I'd be turning them into the police.
And you talked about the incident from 20 years ago.
It started 20 years ago when I was a freshman at Harvard. It was but because that was when the first incident happened where I was harassed by someone who ended up getting a job at Microsoft and continued to be involved, and his friends continued to be involved and stay in touch with me, and I think hack my computer as well. You understand, if you have a series of incidences where it's one abusive incident after another, it's not just a single crime, it's a series of crimes. That's what this was going on, where it's It's not just one isolated event. It's several,
Okay.
you know. So, yes, it started 20 years ago, but then, like, one thing led to another, to another, to another. So the perpetrators of, like, when the Rape Crisis Center got involved in Boston, the Rape Crisis Center Gay Men's Domestic Violence Project, that was, like, in 2009. And it was, like, 2008 was when I was first raped for the first time. And then the way they handle it, not very abnormally, but then on top of it, then I get date rape drugged. And then I go to them again, and that's where I was date rape drugged, and then like had a barrage of threats from people online where the threats were crimes. It's like it turns out the Massachusetts witness intimidation law is pretty, like, would have outlawed it all. And they lied to me about what the law was. They misled me, and they told me, you can't go to the police about anything unless it's like it has to be an explicit threat to commit a crime against you, not an implicit threat that's like intimidating. That was like completely a lie. And and then they kicked me out after I had given them enough evidence to show that I was a victim. Like they had enough evidence to blackmail. They wanted evidence. They wanted enough evidence that I was credible, so they could blackmail the right individuals. And then once they had the evidence they needed to commit the blackmail, then they kicked me out, and and then the things that were done to me afterwards were like unbelievably. Well, you can imagine, the more horrible the crimes were and the abuse was committed against me, the more money they can make off of blackmail of the individuals that they could look like were the ones involved after I had, gone to them with my story of it was like I was working for Berkshire Hathaway, and there was like this man who was stalking me online who I didn't know what he was, but I think he was a Catholic priest. Like, at least that's what I was told afterwards. So anyway, yeah, that's my situation. And what's horrible is what I'm dealing with now is, I'm continuing to have to deal with just like people being vicious in little mean ways. But like it's a very effective kind of emotional abuse. Just like hate, it's like hate. Like it's just so mean-spirited what I'm having to deal with now. And
Is this at work?
this is online. If I try to hook up, this is also the people I can talk to or can't talk to about the whole issue.
Okay.
I'm not working right now, but it's like when I go online, how people treat me online, and in other contexts. Like when I go to a restaurant and I have patrons who I just don't even want to talk about it.
Okay.
No, it's just.
So
But the last time I called this rape crisis center, the woman, she giggles. I feel like she knows what they did to me, how they tried to cover things up, and she kind of giggled about it. But I just don't want to say. I just don't want to go into detail.
And you live in Meredith now?
Yeah, right now, yes.
Okay.
You've been through so much, you should... Oh, well, what are you doing for your mental health? And then, oh, yeah, have your lawyer do everything for you. Don't do anything yourself. The impression, it's a very subtle way of trying to hint or suggest that I'm mentally incompetent, which was what what they got my parents to try to say in order to try to discredit me. In other words, I had to put up with all these crimes, and I couldn't go to the police because if I went to the police, they'd go talk to my parents. My parents would say I'm lying and I'm incompetent and I'm crazy and making it up. And what would happen was I even had like incontrovertible evidence that people committed crimes against me, and it didn't matter how much evidence I had. You're going to say you're crazy anyway, and we're going to ignore the evidence, and we're going to say you just imagined it, is how people said they were going to deal with it.
Okay.
And
so what kind of help?
And that's what happened. And I'll remember what I told you. Remember I told you, I had evidence. I had people sending me emails in writing, like the most horrible threats in writing. I gave it to the police. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to do a police report. We're just going to say you're crazy. And they refused to do a police report, and they just like covered this whole thing up. And then I get like horribly intimidated.
Okay.
And but the worst thing is I am still in the present having to deal with people harassing me because I have come forward. I went, okay, the police won't do anything. They're going to say, we can get away with it. The perpetrators are rich. We're going to not do anything. So I go online and I published all of the evidence online that I had to prove what they did to me and what these agencies did to me. And now, the way I am being treated because of that, I'm being harassed. I'm being harassed for showing these people up for, like, perpetrating the most sociopathic crimes. And I'm the one that's having to be treated most, like, absolutely horribly by people for doing it. And I had no choice because look at how I was treated before. I was like raped so many times, and I was date raped, drugged over and over again, and I was had like murder attempts on my life which failed, but I have brain damage because of, well, like what one of them was a attempt to like warfarin overdose. Someone tried to put warfarin, rat poison, in my system. And on top of it, when it didn't work, the hospital went and covered it up. So they're going to go try to say, you weren't really poisoned with rat poison. You're just crazy and imagining it. Except I have brain damage because of it. And I have damage to my language centers. And if you look at how I type, every now and then, I'll mean to type one word and the other word will come out. But everyone's telling me, I can't get any, no acknowledgement. There's no acknowledgement of it. They're just trying to cover it up and then treat me as amazingly sadistically. Now, if you're not a perpetrator of a crime, if I wasn't a victim of this crime, that many people don't have to go harass me that badly. If you're just crazy, people can ignore you. They don't have to go out of their way to treat you so horribly because of it.
So it sounds like you've tried to get some recourse to the legal system, and that hasn't worked. The only other, you're talking to the crisis center.
Yes.
That's based out of Concord.
Yes.
So the only other resource I have to offer you is that we have support systems. We have support groups that meet, and the other thing we have is court advocates. So maybe you want some help from us to go to court and try to pursue this further.
Well, I'm very smart, and I can understand. Yes. I'm very smart.
Sure
yeah, exactly.
We can offer you to the crisis center besides a support group and an advocate. Is that what you're looking for right now,
Yes, because let me tell you, I shouldn't. I should have people in my life who. Okay, the last person I talked to, first of all, I mean, you should see what he did to me. He was one of the perpetrators. Here he goes, and I'm starting to express myself about what people do. He pretended he can't hear me, and then he hung up on me. He's been like gaslighting me all the time. And I'm smart, and I'm articulate, and I'm capable of doing it. But I'm having people, the way people are treating me is like, I mean, brutal. It's the worst kind of psychological warfare, and it's designed to just make it so that I will never go to the police about what they did because it's just I'm let me tell you what this man did. He would go, first of all, he would go, and I start talking to him about it one day. Then the next day I talk about it more. And then the third day I talk about it more. And then the fourth day I start talking about it more, and he'll play dumb and pretend that I had never told him anything in the first place. Even to the point where I'll talk about how he'll say, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm talking about how I was raped and then XYZ happened." You never told me you were raped. Do you get that? Like, here's someone I'm talking to about the situation that developed as a result of me being raped. And he'll sound like, for 3 days in a row, like 3 conversations in a row, he'll sound like he is, having a normal conversation back and forth, and I can talk to him about the facts. And then the next day, he plays totally dumb, pretends he doesn't understand a thing I said, and even goes so far as to say that I never even told him I was ever raped in the first place. Like that.
So you've had a tough time.
That's what he does. That's the kind of thing my mother does. Everyone I talk to, I can't talk to a single person who doesn't do that to me. There is not a single person in my life who doesn't do that.
I have to ask you to calm down a little bit, please. Because I know you're upset, and I'm happy to talk to you, but really, the screaming's not so good, okay?
I know. Yes. But that's what everyone is doing, and as it's happening, I have been like, I'm treated horribly by people. I'm just, and this is what was going on as I was raped, and when I tell my mother about it, she says, if I go to the police, she will not support me. She will not, she will tell them horrible things about me. I'm a liar, or whatever. That's what her position was.
So are you trying to get some legal recourse?
Yeah, well, I can because I have her diaries on her computer where it's obvious she said she knew I was raped, and then it's obvious she went and announced that she was going to lie about it too. So I mean, her trying to discredit me doesn't discredit me because I have all this evidence.
You have all the documentation.
But then, I have documentation. But it would be good. Well, what I need is to have people to talk to where I can have a normal conversation and I can say, well, I want to write this up and show you, like, I want to write something. I want to be able to write it up and say, well, and it's not that hard, but I need to be able to write things up and, write something up. Okay, if I go to the police, it's long and complicated. I have to write up, like, something with bullet points. So I should have some kind of support where I can meet with someone who is supportive and talk to and all.
Okay.
So
what we do is, I have staff call you back on Monday during normal business hours, and they can tell you when the support groups are meeting and find you the best support group to be coming to.
Okay.
It's not a schedule that they publish. It's something that staff has to talk to you and tell you which one to come to.
Oh, now how many support groups are there? Or what type are there?
I don't even know. I just know that staff runs support groups out of the Concord location. Do you have transportation, David?
I do, yes. A support group would be good. Ideally,
are you working now, or you said no?
Not really. I don't need to work. I have enough financial support, so I don't have to. And also,
Okay.
last job I got, the lawyer says get a job, and the lawyer I went to about all this says get a job, and I do, and it was like Keller Williams, and the moment I get the job, they're pretty much telling me, no, you're not here to do work. And there
Okay.
were hints that I got a lot of hints that maybe the FBI was involved in the matter, which it makes sense it would be if you look at what happened. It's kind of like organized crime and all that.
Mhm.
So, but you know, let me put it this way: either he got the FBI involved, or he went and made a deal with the perpetrators where they paid off the law firm and covered it up. If that is what happened, I still have the right to go and take all the evidence, everything I forwarded him, all the evidence I had, and everything I explained. I can explain to the police on my own, and if he participated in a cover-up, then he should be prosecuted too. But
Mhm.
I should definitely take, I shouldn't do nothing. So
Okay, so I'm assuming this is your cell phone that I called since I
yes,
saw that it's a 401 number.
yeah, I don't live in Providence anymore. I live up here. I just never changed the number.
That's fine.
So
We see that a lot.
yeah,
So it's okay to have staff call you Monday and talk to you about when support groups meet?
yes, definitely.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure. There's also what do they call it? There's also a crisis center out of Laconia.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that's closer for you than Concord, but
I
if you
called
want to,
them once,
and
and
that's Bridges, not Bridges.
yeah,
The name escapes me. Okay, you talked to Laconia once. That wasn't a good fit. All right.
no,
I have.
they were nasty enough so that she made a lot of snide remarks, and also I had to call 5 times in a row, and then I was I called them because I had just had a very harassing, upsetting incident with a furniture store, and then where the woman there, it was like I think she knew what it was. Anyway, anyway, I went and literally called the police about what they had, how they were treating me, and said I do not feel comfortable going back to that furniture store.
Okay.
After the comments they made, and the woman at the rape crisis center eventually calls me back after I call back 5 times,
Mm.
and she says I can't. And then I call back. I call once, and then she's, oh no, they talked to them, and they were trying. It was all this. It's almost like I felt like the woman at the rape crisis center knew that the woman at the furniture store was going to harass me in a way to make me upset, and that she's talking to them. You know, like it's as if I'm the one who's bad, and anyone can complain about me and they'll say I'm bad, and I can't complain about anyone else. Anyone can abuse me however they want, and I can't complain. And then on top of it, they can go say they object to me, and everyone will listen to them. Is kind of so. I mean, like so the woman, yeah. So in the Laconia,
All right. So
and
I'll
the way
have.
she
I'll
treated me when
have.
she did talk to me was, I mean, horrible. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. I'll have staff call you. It'll
okay,
be Monday because
yep,
they work normal hours. It's the
yes,
volunteers who cover
yes,
after hours,
yep.
and they can tell you what your options are as far as support groups in Concord.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Better would be male victims but actually, with women who are victims too, it's
We
fine
do have
too.
some support for male victims.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like a male
And
victim.
I'm assuming
Yeah.
that are you in your mid-30s?
I'm 42.
42.
I think I look pretty good for my age, though. Like
I was just going because you said that this started when you were a freshman and it was
yeah,
20 years ago. So,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like a
we
male
do
victim.
have
Yeah,
some support for male
yeah,
victims, so don't worry about
yeah.
that.
I mean, it doesn't have like it's interesting. I've talked to a lot of female rape victims, hardly any male victims. So
Yeah.
it's I like almost
But you're not
both
alone.
is
It
good.
does happen.
But what? Yeah, and the way it is, okay. If you are in a support group for male victims, let me tell you what it is. If you're in a support group for male victims, you feel more comfortable talking about the details. But then I have to say,
Sure.
like, I do know I'm a little bit. I feel like it goes the when women are victimized, they get victimized in a different way, and they have different reactions, and they're upset by different
Of
things than
course.
what men are, and I'm sort of curious about
Right.
that because I've participated in the discussions but haven't gotten that much of a chance to, like, I don't fully understand what happens to women as well as, like, I know what happens to men, but I
Right.
don't.
And I know that female victims are more comfortable talking with other
Yeah,
females, and
yeah,
I'm sure that you'd be more
yeah,
comfortable talking to other men.
exactly,
So
yeah,
we'll get that worked out
yeah,
for you,
okay, yeah,
and so you'll get the call from Concord
yeah,
on Monday.
okay. What it is I'm more
Okay.
comfortable talking to men, but I have a curiosity as to, like, I've paid investigated like what the law is, so I'm curious as to what happens with women though too, but that's not like that's an intellectual curiosity, which is different.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Okay. Well, you try to relax and
yeah,
get through the night,
okay,
and
I will. Yeah.
we'll be in touch with you on Monday.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, Damien. Have a good
Okay.
evening.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.